Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Before we dive in, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Your support helps us keep telling the truth. Now, let's begin. The Palace Briefing Machine. Jasmine Dodiwala lays bare the truth about Kensington Palace and the campaign against the Sussexes. Introduction. The moment the mask slipped. For years, the British public has watched a relentless stream of negative headlines about Prince Harry and Duchess Meghan flood the tabloids, always attributed to vague, unverifiable sources. A palace insider said, a royal source revealed, a senior courtier claimed. These anonymous whispers have shaped public opinion, poisoned the media narrative, and caused immeasurable pain to a couple who only ever wanted to serve the crown. Then, in a moment of startling clarity on Jeremy Vine's Channel 5 show, British broadcaster Jasmine Dodiwala said what so many in the industry knew, but few dared to state out loud. When I worked in newsrooms, it's a fact that every anti-Meghan and Harry story came from Kensington Palace, Dodiwala declared. And if it comes from KP, why are they briefing against one of their own? Why are there never any negative stories about William and Kate? Those words cut through the fog of carefully managed palace spin like a blade. A veteran media professional with over 2 decades of experience as a head of department, manager, broadcaster, producer, director, and columnist at brands like Netflix UK, Channel 4 News, and MTV, Dodiwala spoke not as a conspiracy theorist, but as someone who had lived inside the system. She knew precisely where the stories originated because she had seen the machinery operate firsthand. This is the story of how Kensington Palace orchestrated a campaign against Prince Harry and Duchess Meghan, how the tabloids served as willing accomplices, and how the truth is finally emerging despite the palace's desperate attempts to control the narrative. The Kensington Palace Communications Machine, how anonymous briefings work. To understand the magnitude of what Dodiwala revealed, we must first understand how the palace's media operation functions. The system is sophisticated, deliberate, and designed to be deniable. The official channel is the Royal Rota, a system launched 40 years ago that sends one reporter, broadcaster, and photographer to taxpayer-funded engagements and then pools the exclusive output to Rota members, which includes the broadsheets, tabloids, BBC, and ITV. This is the sanitized, publicly accountable face of royal media relations. But beneath the surface lies a shadow system of off-the-record briefings, anonymous source cultivation, and selective leaking that allows palace aides to shape narratives without accountability. As royal reporter Omid Scobie documented in his book Endgame, there exists a toxic culture of leaking and negative briefings within the institution. Multiple sources told Scobie that Harry and Duchess Meghan were easy targets for negative briefings because they believed other family members were jealous of their unrivaled popularity at the time. The mechanism is simple yet devastating. A senior aide picks up the phone to a friendly tabloid reporter. They speak on background. Information is shared, not as an official statement, but as a helpful tip from someone close to the situation. The reporter writes a story attributing everything to palace sources or royal insiders. The palace can later deny any official involvement because, technically, no official statement was ever issued. This is how the Duke and Duchess of Sussex were subjected to hostile off-the-record briefings from royal insiders and anonymous palace sources throughout their time as working royals. The Duchess Difficult narrative. Constructing a villain. Perhaps the most persistent and damaging smear campaign against Duchess Meghan was the Duchess Difficult narrative. Shortly after she and Prince Harry wed in 2018, Meghan had earned the scathing tabloid nickname as whispers surrounding her modern approach to royal life, supposedly rubbing royal staff the wrong way, began to circulate. But where did those whispers come from? According to Finding Freedom, the bombshell biography co-authored by Omid Scobie and Carolyn Durand, even before the wedding, members of the palace team simply didn't like Meghan for reasons beyond her control. The book revealed that at least one high-ranking courtier was overheard telling another of Meghan, "There's just something about her I don't trust," while an unnamed member of the family referred to her as Harry's showgirl, a characterization that infuriated Prince Harry. The palace aides were biased against Duchess Meghan's American background, with her matter-of-fact tone labeled abrasive and her ambition seen as overconfident. A woman who had built a successful acting career, who was intelligent, articulate, and driven, qualities that in any other context would be celebrated, became the target of a whispered campaign designed to undermine her at every turn. Dodie Wallace's question remains unanswered. Why did Kensington Palace never face similar negative stories about William and Kate? The double standard is glaring. While Duchess Meghan was being called difficult and demanding, the Cambridge household enjoyed a protective shield that the Sussexes were never afforded. The yoga mat. How innocuous acts became scandalous headlines. One of the most absurd examples of this double standard involves something as simple as carrying a yoga mat. In her Oprah interview, watched by 12 million in the UK and 17 million in the US, Duchess Meghan recounted how even carrying a yoga mat was twisted into headlines claiming she was trying to upstage other royals. A woman practicing self-care, carrying exercise equipment, became front-page news, framed as an act of aggression against the monarchy. This pattern repeated endlessly. Duchess Meghan's public outings had to be cleared by palace aides. Even something as simple as lunch with friends was often denied, a move she suggested was branded as protection, but in reality kept her trapped indoors as the tabloids spun stories about her every move. While other royals could conduct their lives with relative privacy, their missteps quickly corrected or ignored by a palace communications team that worked overtime to protect them. The difference was not in behavior, but in institutional willingness to provide cover. The case of the crying princess, selective silence. Perhaps no single incident better illustrates the palace's deliberate campaign against Duchess Meghan than the story of the flower girl dresses. During the wedding preparations, a disagreement arose over the dresses for the young bridesmaids, including Princess Charlotte. Duchess Meghan found herself in tears. But as the story made its way through palace channels and into the press, the narrative was flipped. Instead of reporting what actually happened, anonymous sources suggested that Duchess Meghan had made Princess Kate cry. The damage was done. The story became a cornerstone of the difficult Meghan narrative. When Duchess Meghan asked Kensington Palace to deny the false tale that she made the Princess of Wales cry, her plea, like many of the Sussexes' requests, went unanswered. According to royal correspondent Omid Scobie, this selective silence was particularly evident in this case. Requests to correct damaging stories about Duchess Meghan were ignored, while trivial inaccuracies about other royals were swiftly quashed. This is not incompetence. This is strategy. When you allow a false narrative to stand, you are by inaction endorsing it. Kensington Palace's refusal to correct the record when Duchess Meghan was being maligned, while simultaneously springing into action to protect others, reveals everything about where their loyalties truly lay.
So you have to remember, when I work in newsrooms, it's a fact that every anti-Harry and Meghan story comes from Kensington Palace.
But why haven't...
And if it comes from Kensington Palace,
right,
why are they briefing against their own grandson?
Well, okay, that's a very... The idea
why are there never any
I think that's fascinating.
About Prince William?
Were William and Kate involved in briefing against them originally? I don't know. That's a good point.
Jenny Offia, Duchess Meghan's lawyer, testified in the Netflix documentary Harry and Meghan. There was a real kind of war against Meghan. I've certainly seen evidence that there was negative briefing from the palace against Harry and Meghan to suit other people's agendas. This is not speculation. A lawyer speaking under documentary evidence. Duchess Meghan herself added, "You would just see it play out, like a story about someone in the family would pop up for a minute, and they'd go, 'We've got to make that go away.' But there's real estate on a website homepage. Something has to be filled in there about someone royal." The implication is chilling. Negative Sussex stories were deliberate choices to shield other royals from scrutiny. Duchess Meghan has always understood the economic engine behind the attacks. In Bloomberg's The Circuit, she explained, "Those people don't know me, and they are not talking about me. There's a very, very powerful machine all about generating income. Clickbait has a huge financial implication. I am part of an SEO. It's not that they're talking about me, it's some caricature they've had to create to get clicks." Her name generates revenue, and the palace knows this. By feeding the beast with negative briefings, Kensington Palace ensured the spotlight remained on Duchess Meghan, rather than on issues or other royals they preferred to hide. The BBC documentary The Princes and the Press confirmed that palace insiders drip-fed negative stories about the popular Sussexes as a power battle played out behind palace walls. The royal family's joint statement complained about unfounded claims from unnamed sources, an irony lost on no one, given their own reliance on anonymous briefings. Omid Scobie wrote for Yahoo UK, "The reality is, people working at the palace did brief against Harry and Meghan while they were working royals, regularly, and it was hardly a secret." Dodo Wallace's statement that every anti-Sussex story came from Kensington Palace points directly at Prince William's household. Scobie went further on ITV's Harry and William, What Went Wrong, claiming William's staff planted stories about Harry's mental health. After Harry and Duchess Meghan's 2019 ITV interview in South Africa, where Meghan said, "Not many people have asked me if I'm okay," a Kensington Palace source told the BBC that William was worried about his brother and that the royals felt the Sussexes were in a fragile place. Scobie noted, "Whether William directed that or not, no one will ever know, but it came from his household that he is the boss of." Prince Harry revealed to Anderson Cooper the reality behind the motto, "Never complain, never explain." He said, "Whenever I tried to talk to my family privately about my issues, there have been briefings and leakings and plantings of stories against me and my wife. The family motto doesn't really hold." Cooper completed the thought. "There's a lot of complaining and a lot of explaining being done through leaks." Harry confirmed, through leaks. He added, "I will sit here and speak truth to you with the words that come out of my mouth, rather than using someone else, an unnamed source, to feed in lies or a narrative to a tabloid media that literally radicalizes its readers." This is the fundamental difference. Harry and Duchess Meghan put their names behind their words. The palace hides behind anonymity. The tabloid agenda produced a staggering volume of false stories. In 2020, the Sussexes blacklisted The Sun, Daily Mail, Daily Mirror, and The Express for publishing stories that were distorted, false, and invasive beyond reason. False claims included that Duchess Meghan bought a £5,000 copper bath, spent £500,000 on soundproofing, ignored her father, and conducted excessive renovations at Frogmore Cottage. Each story appeared under anonymous sources. Each was debunked, but only after the damage was done. Duchess Meghan's legal team called the narratives untrue and offensive. The tabloid machine, fueled by palace briefings, constructed an alternative version of Duchess Meghan that bore no resemblance to the woman her family knew. Prince Harry has taken a stand. In January 2026, he returned to court for the third chapter of his legal battle against British tabloids, with tens of millions of dollars on the line. Fighting back tears, he told London's High Court that the Daily Mail had made his wife's life, quote, an absolute misery, leaving him, quote, paranoid beyond belief. He has linked the media venom to his mother, Princess Diana's death, drawing a direct line between what happened to Diana and what continues to happen to Duchess Meghan. This is a man who has watched his wife be systematically destroyed by a media machine operating with the cooperation of his own family's staff. Duchess Meghan has shown extraordinary courage. In the Oprah interview, she admitted she once no longer wanted to be alive and that the palace shut every door when she pleaded for help. Her ability to recognize that the press caricature is not her has been essential to her survival. Yet, she has not been broken. She continues to build her life with Prince Harry in California, raising Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, and pursuing projects that reflect her values. Dotiwala's question remains unanswered. Why brief against one of your own? Why are there never negative stories about William and Kate? The answer speaks to an institution that values control above all else. Harry and Duchess Meghan represented a threat. They were more popular, more modern, more willing to speak candidly. The palace fought back through deniable channels, anonymous briefings, selective leaks, and false narratives left uncorrected. The phrase palace sources has become a shield. As one friend of the Sussexes told the Netflix documentary, Meg became the scapegoat for the palace. They would feed stories on her, whether they were true or not, to avoid other less favorable stories being printed. The evidence is overwhelming. Multiple palace aides have confirmed the culture of leaking. Lawyers have testified to documentary evidence, and journalists like Dotiwala have spoken openly. And yet, the palace continues to deny and hide. The campaign against Duchess Meghan did not begin after the wedding. Scobie reported that Kensington Palace and Buckingham Palace would get worried about being upstaged by the Sussexes and leak negative information, a tactic that started before they even got married, during moments that could easily be focused on genuine royal news instead. Before Duchess Meghan had attended a single official engagement, the palace was already working to undermine her. Her crime? Being popular, different, a threat to the established order. Prince Harry has broken the cycle. Unlike his father, who stood by as Diana was destroyed, Harry has spoken publicly, taken tabloids to court, and refused to accept false narratives. In the Netflix documentary, he made his position clear. I will sit here and speak truth to you with the words that come out of my mouth, rather than using someone else, an unnamed source, to feed in lies or a narrative. This is courage. The consequences of speaking out have been severe. The Sussexes have been vilified, accused of fabricating their struggles and destroying the monarchy. But what choice did they have? They chose freedom, mental health, and their children. As Duchess Meghan said, it's not that they're talking about me, it's some caricature they've had to create to get clicks. The final chapter is not yet written. Prince Harry's legal battles may force the tabloids to answer for their conduct, but regardless of legal outcomes, the truth is already clear. Jasmine Dotiwala spoke it aloud. Every anti-Harry and Meghan story came from Kensington Palace. Every single one. Now you know. If you found this analysis informative, please like, share, and subscribe for more content examining the intersection of media, power, and truth. The fight for accountability continues, and informed viewers like you make all the difference.